You're an international pariah. You're the one that caused this destruction, this death on a massive scale that no one could have ever even envisioned. Also, you gotta pay us now. You owe us $33 billion. This will crush the German economy for years and years. Like I say, it's supposed to crush the German economy until 2016. What are the Germans to do? There's no way to pay it back. There is someone who takes this very personally. Someone who says, how is this even possible? How did we even lose the war? There were no foreign troops in Germany. We were holding the Allies out, and now we lost. This is a very ominous picture of the Treaty of Versailles being read to the German people. And a German corporal who was in the trenches listening to it. I know it's kind of hard to see here. Adolf Hitler is in the crowd. He doesn't understand what he's hearing. How is it possible that Germany lost? And all of this humiliation is coming down upon us. To make matters even worse, Russia has a problem with the Treaty of Versailles. Now keep in mind, were the Russians even there? Were they at the negotiations? No, they dropped out of the war. They're out. So the Russians are told, you might have suffered more than anyone else during this war. But you backed out early. The peace will be dictated to you as well. Russia is told, you're going to lose lands as well. We are going to carve up a piece of Russia to make these 9 new nations. Russia itself is going to lose billions of acres within Western Russia to make these new nations, and they're told, you dropped out early. You should have stayed to fight. You stay in the war, you get the spoils of war. The Russians take this very personally, and they're going to remember this. They're never going to forgive their Western allies. They never forgive the French, the Brits, and especially the Americans. Now, we're going to talk more about the Russians and how they're going to hold a grudge going on later. Next part, more problems. We're going to see the League of Nations. Now, I posed the question to you to start today because I usually get that response where you say the League of Nations has the most potential to change the world. I would probably agree with you guys. In fact, the League of Nations is going to be created. It exists. It's going to be signed off, and yes, almost every nation on earth sends a representative. But the United States is very nervous about this. The United States is basically fearful of the League of Nations. Where we look at it and say, this international body is going to have power over us. This international body is going to tell us what to do. Not so fast. Remember, in the American political system, presidents can negotiate treaties, but who has to approve them? More specifically, the Senate has to approve it. When the Treaty of Versailles is created, it's brought back to the United States, and the Senate looks at it and says, let me get this straight. If we approve of this, we hand over our own independence. We give our sovereignty to this international body that can tell us what to do. I don't think so. We want to fall back into isolationism. The Senate looks at the Treaty of Versailles and says overwhelmingly There is no way we are going to approve of this treaty. We need something else. They take the Treaty of Versailles, crumble it up, and throw it out, and they make their own deal with Germany. The League of Nations is created, but we never join it. It was Woodrow Wilson's idea, but who cares? Presidents can negotiate treaties all they want. Senate has to approve, and the Senate said overwhelmingly, there is no way we're going to be a part of this. The Senate turns it down. We make our own deal with Germany, and the League of Nations is created, but it's made up of all these nations that are very afraid. All these nations that say, we will threaten war, but we're never actually going to go to war. The League of Nations will prove to be a paper tiger. It's weak. And there's one person in particular that's going to challenge them later on. Now, we're going to talk about that person much more going forward.